the 26th of February 2025. This is a brand new edition of Newsfirst's Primetime News, coming to you live and direct from our Newsfirst studios here in Colombo. Bringing you the news tonight for the Newsfirst team, I am Jayamal Ratnayaka.
And I am Rochelle Damodar. Let's start off with a look at your headlines for tonight.
Namal Rajapaksa summoned by CID for Airbus bribery investigation. Questioned for 5 hours. Gun attack on close associate of Ganemule Sanjeeva murder mastermind in Minuwangoda. Sajid Premadasi's lifetime opposition leader says government whip.
අපි කන්ස්ටිටියුෂන් එක ගේනවා අනිවාර්යෙන් එතුමාගේ නම දාලා කරු කතානායකතුමනි විපක්ෂ නායක ධූරයේ මෙතුමාටම යාව ජීවව තිබිය යුතුයි කියලා අපි දානවා.
President Trump offers permanent residency in the US for $5 million.
In our top story for tonight, Namal Rajapaksa, the national organizer of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, was questioned for 5 hours by the Criminal Investigation Department regarding allegations that he received a portion of the $2 million bribe related to the purchase of 10 Airbus aircraft by Sri Lankan Airlines.
Case file.
Namal Rajapaksa, the national organizer of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, arrived at the Criminal Investigations Department accompanied by a group of lawyers and supporters.
I was summoned over the Airbus matter. I was summoned because someone had placed 200 million rupees on my desk. This time we should see how much they claim to have found. Nowadays, any criminal, murderer or corrupt individual can easily deflect blame onto the Rajapaksa family to evade justice. Yes, but there is no issue. We come whenever we are summoned. The more we come, the more it becomes clear to the public that these accusations are baseless. The same person who is in charge of the Anti-Corruption Committee during the previous government is now the minister in charge of the police. No, I am not afraid. If I were, I wouldn't be here. I don't know if they plan to take me to show weapons. Even on a holiday, they go to great lengths to bring us in, take statements and create government witnesses. I urge them to put the same effort into solving the country's problems.
As MP Namal Rajapaksa headed to the Criminal Investigations Department, he addressed the media about the Airbus bribery scandal. But what exactly is this Airbus bribery case? The investigation into the Airbus bribery deal began in 2020 following revelations from the UK's Serious Fraud Office. In 2013, Sri Lankan Airlines initiated the process to purchase 10 Airbus aircraft. The investigation uncovered that Airbus had promised a $16.84 million bribe to Kapila Chandrasena, the then CEO of Sri Lankan Airlines, and had paid $2 million into his wife's bank account in Brunei. Further investigations revealed that portions of this bribe were transferred to other parties. It was disclosed during court proceedings that $400,000 from the $2 million bribe was transferred into 2 installments in 2014 to an account belonging to Nimal Hemasiri Pereira. Pereira is a key witness in a money laundering case against Namal Rajapaksa under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act. Kapila Chandrasena and his wife were arrested in 2020 in connection with the Airbus bribery deal but were later released on bail. Nimal Hemasiri Pereira also provided statements regarding the case. However, after the government changed in 2021, there were no further reports on the investigation. Today, as Namal Rajapaksa arrived at the CID to provide a statement, a social media activist raised questions, leading to a confrontation with Rajapaksa's supporters.
कंप्लेंट कर रहा हूं तुम्हारा कंप्लेंट कर रहा हूं एंड अगेन मंगे भारतीय प्रवृत्ति अध्यक्ष ඒ අතුරුම් පදක්වත් නැතුව නිකන් කොහෙද ඇවිල්ලා කසඩේක් වගේ මේ අපරාධ පරීක්ෂා දෙපාර්තමේන්තුව කියන්නේ වැදගත් ආයතනයක්. මේකට නීතිමය ස්ථාපිත කරන ආයතනයක්. ඒතකොට කොහොමද මේ එහෙම කරන්නේ? මොකද්ද මේ රටේ නීතිය? එහෙනම් අපිත් මේ වීඩියෝ කරන්න බඩ ගන්න. එහෙම කරන්න බෑලෝ. හරිද? ඒ තමුසේ අධ්‍යාපන මට්ටම.
The OIC of the Fort police station also arrived at the scene. After being questioned for approximately 5 hours, MP Namal Rajapaksa left the Criminal Investigations Department.
Not at the moment. If they summon me again, I will come again. Nowadays, it is very easy for anyone to blame the Rajapaksas for any wrongdoing. The Rajapaksas get remanded and the real culprits get away. If the government continues this practice, all crimes in this country will be blamed on us while the real criminals hide. Therefore, we urge the government to stop this political retaliation and focus on finding the real criminals. No, there is no information about me from any foreign court. The investigation is based on a statement given by someone here. If there was any information from a foreign country, it would have been investigated over the past 5 to 6 years.
මගේ නිර්දෝෂීභාවය තහවුරු වෙන්නේ අධිකරණයේ අඩු තීන්දුවක් මත. එහෙම නැත්නම් යම්කිසි කෙනෙක් කියන ප්‍රකාශයක් මත නෙවෙයි. ආණ්ඩුව මේ අහන ප්‍රශ්න දිහා බැලුවම පරීක්ෂණ කටයුතු එන්නේ කියලා පැහැදිලිවම පේනවා යම් හස්තයක් තියෙනවා.
Case file.
Is MP Namal Rajapaksa's summoning by the CID a political retaliation? Here are the reactions from the Minister of Public Security regarding this matter.
No, we have no such need. If we were engaging in political retaliation, we wouldn't have behaved the way we did during the elections. We did not engage in any form of political retaliation during the elections, and we will not do so in the future either. No investigation is conducted based on political motives. Everything is entrusted to the police, the IGP, and the relevant investigative units. It is their investigations that lead to the summoning of certain individuals. There is nothing special about summoning others. The law enforcement agencies summon those they need to, as required by the law. This will continue to happen daily. Unlike in the past, nothing is done based on political needs. Whether it is Namal Rajapaksa or someone else, it does not matter. It is the responsibility of the police. If they need to take a statement from someone for an investigation, they will summon that person.
A close associate of Kehel Badra Padme, the alleged mastermind behind the Ganemula Sanjiva murder, was shot dead this morning in the area of Minuangoda. The injured individual has been hospitalized.
The shooting occurred at around 11 a.m. at a three-wheeler stand at the Paddanduwa junction in Minuangoda. Two individuals on a motorcycle targeted 36-year-old three-wheeler driver Lahiru Randir Kanchana, firing at him with a 9mm pistol. 3 bullets struck the victim, injuring his right leg and face. He is currently receiving treatment at the hospital. Police have identified the injured man as a relative of a close associate of Kehel Badra Padme. Meanwhile, 2 individuals who attempted to assassinate Kehel Badra Padme's wife's mother, father and younger brother were apprehended by the police earlier this week.
Sri Lanka police believe that another individual residing in Sri Lanka may be behind the orchestration of the Ganemulle Sanjeeva assassination. Detectives suspect that this person may have also directed the woman who disguised herself as a lawyer and entered the court complex. A total of 13 mobile phones belonging to identified Special Task Force officers, police officers and prison officers who were present at the court premises when the assassination took place have been taken into custody by the investigation teams. These phones are currently being examined for further investigations. An inquiry has also been initiated regarding the court appearance of Ganemulle Sanjeeva on the 19th of this month due to the chaotic situation that has arisen over the matter. Meanwhile, security forces surrounded and searched a house in the Ranalagal estate in Thebuwana Police Division following information that Sirasa, the main suspect in the Ganemulle Sanjeeva murder case, who disguised herself as a lawyer, was present there. The van used by the suspect to flee after the shooting has been handed over to the government analyst for further investigation. It has been discovered that the engine number, chassis number and license plate of the van are fake. A police officer believed to be the owner of the van has been arrested. Investigations have revealed that another police officer provided the van to him. This officer is currently in Dubai under the protection of an organized crime figure. Additionally, the mother and younger brother of the main female suspect who are accused of aiding and abetting the Ganemulle Sanjeeva murder have been remanded until the 7th of March. They were presented before the Colombo Additional Magistrate Passan Amarasekara today following the expiration of their previous detention orders. The Colombo Crimes Division informed the court that investigations have revealed that these suspects were aware of the incident. Sri Lanka police apprehended another suspect in connection with the brutal triple homicide that shocked the Midania community. The arrest took place in the Virakatia Vakamulla area. Officers from the Tangol Division Crime Investigation Department detained the suspect, a 37-year-old resident from Hakuruela. Acting Walasmulle Magistrate Chintaka Bandaranayaka granted permission to detain and interrogate the suspect for 72 hours.
Public Security and Parliamentary Affairs Minister Ananda Vijaypala stated that some individuals are discussing national security without understanding its true meaning.
The 608th police station in Sri Lanka was officially opened today in Kerala. The inauguration ceremony was attended by Public Security and Parliamentary Affairs Minister Ananda Vijaypala, Deputy Minister Attorney at Law Sunil Watagala, Acting Inspector General of Police Attorney at Law Priyanthi Weerasooriya and several senior police officers.
Having stars and stripes on your uniform is meaningless if you cannot meet the expectations of the public, comfort their hearts, relieving their suffering, bring justice to this country and establish the rule of law. I believe the police are moving forward with a new approach. Many people are now talking excessively about national security. There is ample evidence that politicians have been involved in creating, nurturing and maintaining underworld activities. When 3, 4 or 5 such incidents occur, they start talking about national security without understanding its true meaning. Our 159 MPs come without any security. National security is well established and there is no issue with it. Incidents happen and I believe the police will solve them within a day or two. We have good detectives who can strengthen the investigation process and bring all those responsible to justice.
Meanwhile, the police are preparing to launch public security committees with a new approach.
To gain public trust, we need honest officers who treat everyone equally and provide public services without delay. The Public Security Committee will be launched soon in a very organized manner, different from the previous methods. The committee will be established in the area in the near future.
Newsfirst with the people.
The National People's Power Government's budget was approved at its second reading in Parliament yesterday with a significant majority. Various trade unions have voiced their concerns or rather criticisms, particularly concerning the proposed salary adjustments.
The Joint Development Officers Centre held a press conference.
We acknowledge that there has been a slight increase in the basic salary of public servants. However, our demand was to increase the basic salary of all public servants by 20,000 rupees. Given the current economic crisis, public servants are anxious about how they will receive their salaries in April. The government has played a numbers game by adding allowances to the basic salary to create this new figure. What are they hiding? There was no mention in the budget speech about tax collection. Monthly taxes, which were 35,964 rupees in 2024, will increase to nearly 45,294 rupees in 2025. This wasn't mentioned anywhere. The government is showing a basic salary for 2028, 2 years into the future, and telling fairy tales. We want to ask the government if this is a budget or a collective agreement.
The Health Workers Centre also commented.
Everyone knows that this salary increase is not limited to 2025. It extends to 2026 and 2027. It's clear that there is a difference between what was said and the actual facts. When this is applied to the health sector and other professions, we see that an extra duty allowance for doctors has been reduced from 120 rupees to 80 rupees, and overtime allowances for nurses has been reduced from 160 rupees to 100 rupees. We also know that working on public holidays and off days is unavoidable. The government used to pay an allowance of 20 rupees for this, which was fair.
The All Ceylon Medical Officers Association dismissed the allegations.
We see the steps taken to increase the basic salary, extra duty allowances and holiday allowances for the working people of this country as very positive and fair. We view this budget as one presented with a vision. 604 billion rupees has been allocated for health, the highest expenditure in the country. Additionally, 185 billion rupees has been allocated for medicines, which we also see as very fair.
බිලියන 185ක් වෙන් කරලා තියෙනවා. ඒත් ඊටාම සාධනීය දෙයක් විදිහට තමයි අපි දකින්නේ. ජනතාවටත් රටටත් රාජ්‍යසේවකයෝ.
We must say that this is a very good budget for the people. The country and public servants, some bankrupt political camps and trade unions are spreading false and fake propaganda about this budget, especially regarding public servant salaries. Initially, they said the basic salary would not increase, but it has increased significantly. Their claims have been proven false. They also talked about reductions in allowances for health professionals, which is also false. When we look at the government statement, we see that we have received more than what we had before.
Were issues of substantial importance to the public addressed during the budget debate? Did the opposition adequately fulfill its role by offering constructive criticism of the proposals, thereby upholding its duty to the people? The following report will examine these matters in detail.
The second reading of the budget was passed in Parliament yesterday with a majority of 109 votes. The ruling party holds 159 seats in Parliament. Even before the Speaker's seat, there are 158 seats. Out of these 158, 155 votes in favour of the budget were recorded in the House yesterday. It is clear that the government holds the majority. But what did the opposition do? The opposition holds 66 seats in Parliament. These 66 seats represent the people of the country who cast their votes in favour of them. Of these 66, only 46 opposed the budget yesterday. Among them, the opposition member of the Democratic Tamil National Alliance, Selvam Adekalanathan, voted in favour of the budget. However, this is not the main issue. The key issue is that 19 of the 66 opposition members were not present in the chamber when the vote on the budget was taking place yesterday. Of these 19, 5 were from the SJB. They include MPs V. Radhakrishnan, Hector Puhami, Varuna Liyanage, Nayana Vasala Tilaka and Palani Digambaram. MLM Hizbollah from the Muslim Congress was also absent. Members of the SJB and allied parties were not present in the chamber when a prior decision to vote against the budget had been made. The leader of the House, speaking at the end of the budget debate, made mention of the opposition's behaviour, which has now drawn widespread attention.
Opposition MPs blamed us to no end. I was truly saddened and thought to myself what you all would do if we ever do make an error. When considering the shortcomings of our rule over the past 3 to 4 months, we had to bear the brunt of short-sighted decisions made by those in previous governments. We have won over the people and the experts, but we will not waste our time to win over those in the SJB. An MP asked about the constitution. We will bring in a new constitution and include an article to ensure he remains the leader of the opposition. We will take care of him, protect him, and we will pay his expenses. When I was in school, there was one bowler in a team whose run-up was like Michael Holding or even Sugat Tilakaratne. but his delivery was extremely slow. It was in slow motion. They too are the same. They were extremely loud in their criticism. The Prime Minister and I were wondering why we were being slandered. We came to the conclusion that it was similar to the bowler from my school days. There's so much noise, but very little content. Fast running, slow bowling. What were the real criticism against the budget? By blaming us immensely, they are attempting to create a narrative that the budget is unreasonable. You were asked to say this was an IMF budget, but the last opposition MP who spoke before me, who is a very talented orator, failed to mention Sajid Premadasa's name. He only said Ranil's name. What should the leaders of the SJB ideally be doing? They should be drawing comparisons between Anwar Dissanayaka's plan and Sajid Premadasa's plan, highlighting what is superior in Sajid's manifesto. But who did you use as an example? Ranil. If you wish to secure power at least in another decade, follow our path and best us. If you follow the current path, you will remain there forever.
ඔය පාර ගියොත් නම් sorry ඔහොමම ඉන්න වෙනවා.
Former President Ranil Wickremesinghe attended a youth forum today which saw the participation of professionals including doctors and lawyers. The United National Party launched a program today in Colombo to empower future leaders. Named the YPO Colombo chapter, the program was attended by several senior members of the party. COPE is currently investigating an incident involving the misuse of 535 million rupees by the National Youth Services Council between January and August 2024. Yesterday, a complaint related to this matter was also submitted to the Criminal Investigations Department. According to the findings revealed during the COPE sessions, these public funds were spent on various projects without proper procedure. It has also been disclosed that 100 million rupees from this amount were obtained around the time of the presidential election.
What are the preparations for the local authorities elections? Now here are the thoughts expressed by Election Commissioner General Samatri Ratnayaka on this matter.
On the 9th of March 2023, a parliamentary act was passed to refund the deposit money related to the local authorities election that was scheduled to be held. Accordingly, we had to refund 161 million rupees for these elections. In line with the new act, we started the refund process as quickly as possible. By the 24th, which was yesterday, we had refunded 37 million rupees. As of now, the Minister of Provincial Council and Local Government has issued a notification regarding the next meeting date. The Commission will proceed accordingly.
ජනාධිපතිතුමා සඳහන් කළා මේ මැතිවරණ දිනේ ප්‍රකාශ කිරීම සම්බන්ධයෙන් කිසිම නීතිමය බාධාවක් නැහැ. ඊට අමතරව ප්‍රතිපාදන වෙන් කරලා තියෙන්නේ කියලා.
Yes, as I mentioned, this is the local authorities election that was supposed to be held in 2023. 10 million rupees were allocated for this election in 2023. Any government in power at the time of the election is bound to provide these funds.
Hindus around the world celebrated Mahashivaratri, giving prominence to religious rituals. According to Hinduism, today marks the auspicious day when Lord Shiva, considered the most powerful deity among the gods, revealed his greatness to the world. During a dispute among the gods Vishnu, Brahma and Shiva about who was the most powerful, Lord Shiva manifested as a pillar of light stretching from the earth to the heavens, declaring that whoever could find the ends of the light would be the most powerful. Vishnu, taking the form of a boar, dug into the earth, and Brahma, taking the form of a swan, flew towards the sky, but neither could find the ends of the light. Thus, Hindus believe that Lord Shiva is the most powerful deity. Hindus celebrate Mahashivaratri on the night when Lord Shiva manifested this pillar of light. Therefore, from tonight until tomorrow morning, Hindus will offer prayers and worship to Lord Shiva, celebrating Mahashivaratri.
Will YouTubers and other individuals providing various online services be subjected to new taxes? This is an inquiry into this matter.
Several amendments related to the Inland Revenue Act have already been gazetted. These amendments include several changes to personal income tax, among which a 15% personal income tax has created a discourse in society. What is this tax?
Let's take an example. If one person earns an income, regardless of whether it is earned here or earned from another country, if it is brought into the country, that earning is subject to tax, except for one. That is the income earned through service exports. It was taxable too, but was removed in January 2020. That has been reinstated now. However, we have only imposed a maximum tax rate of 15%. If you provide a digital service and earn 1 million rupees per month, this is how you will be taxed. The first 150,000 rupees will be exempt from taxes. The second 85,000 will be taxed 6%. The next 41,000 should be taxed 18%, but it does not go that high. That is the benefit. So the first 150,000 rupees will not be taxed. The second 85,000 will be taxed 6%. Any amount earned beyond it will only be taxed 15%. An ordinary citizen has to pay up to a maximum of 36% payee tax. But those who provide digital services do not have to pay such high rates. We have provided a concession on that.
නමුත් මේ ඩිජිටල් සේවා සපයන කෙනාට අපි එච්චර වැඩි ප්‍රමාණයකට ගෙවන්නේ නැහැ. යම් සහනයක් ඒක ඇතුලේ දීලා තියෙනවා.
The first RM Parks and Tri-Star fueled Shell branded fuel shed in Sri Lanka in over 6 decades was opened in Abatale. US Ambassador to Sri Lanka Julie Chung, gracing the event, said that by investing into Sri Lanka's energy infrastructure, the US is not only strengthening supply chains but also advancing the ties that bind the two nations.
The first RM Parks and Tri-Star fueled Shell branded fuel shed in Sri Lanka in over 6 decades was opened in Abatale. California-based RM Parks has planned to open 150 filling stations across Sri Lanka.
Together as we witness the historic moment of fueling the first vehicle at the station.
Together, we celebrate a momentous occasion, the grand opening of the first RM Parks and Tri-Star fueled Shell-branded fuel shed in Sri Lanka in over 6 decades. This event is not merely the inauguration of a service station. It's a rekindling of a relationship. Half a century ago, Shell fuel sheds were a familiar sight all across this beautiful island. The Shell emblem, as you see here today, stood as a beacon of quality and trust, symbolizing progress and connection. The collaboration between RM Parks and Shell is a testament to the enduring bonds between the United States and Sri Lanka. It reflects our shared commitment to fostering economic growth, enhancing energy security, building prosperity throughout the Indo-Pacific region. In alignment with President Trump's vision of making America safer, stronger, and more prosperous, today's event reinforces the United States as a global energy leader. And by investing in Sri Lanka's energy infrastructure, we are not only strengthening supply chains, but also advancing the ties that bind our two nations. Adding competitors to the market gives them more quality and product options. And the convenience stores you see here will provide snack and essentials to a society that's always on the go.
Dr. M. Sanjayan, CEO of Conservation International and one of Time 100's most influential climate leaders, emphasized Sri Lanka's rich natural capital and the critical role it can play in addressing climate change during an exclusive conversation on climate and nature in Colombo.
You do have a lot of natural capital in Sri Lanka, for sure. You have mangroves, you have dry forests, you have wet forests, lowland, upland, wet forests, you have dry zones. You still have quite a lot of nature for a very small island. And the protection of nature is actually pretty well established in the culture, in the religions, in government. It's persisted. So you're starting in a good place, or you're continuing in a good place. And human capital is tremendous here. You know, it's incredible what I would say Sri Lankans and South Indians, I'd say both of those camps have done around the world. I think the one thing that I think Sri Lanka struggles with is collaboration and kind of unity. So what you don't have here, because it's an island, because it's small, you don't have scale.
Dr. M. Sanjayan, CEO of Conservation International and one of Time 100's most influential climate leaders, was featured at an exclusive conversation on climate and nature in Colombo.
You have always emphasized on nature being the climate solution, climate change solution. So how do you think Sri Lanka can really take that lead?
So our destruction of nature, conversion of land, burning of nature, cutting down forests, destroying mangroves, puts a lot of emissions into the atmosphere. Sri Lanka actually can contribute to reducing climate change through the NDCs and the role of nature. Now the other side is also true, right? So on a small island nation like Sri Lanka, we're hammered on multiple fronts by climate change. Changes in weather pattern, changes in rainfall, changes in sea level rise, all are and will have a big impact on Sri Lanka. And in that case, nature provides a real buffer for that. And so the ability for wetlands to absorb water, the ability for hillsides to be reforested as a way to reduce flooding or to reduce erosion, or coastal restoration, seagrasses, mangroves, coral reefs, as a way of helping to mitigate sea surges from rising sea levels. All of those things are hugely important from an adaptation point of view as well. You cannot build your way, particularly if you're a small country, you cannot build your way out of the climate crisis. You also have to find a way to adapt to it.
Rajiv Amarasuriya, President of the Bar Association of Sri Lanka, emphasized the Constitution's role as the supreme law that governs the framework of legislation, institutions and procedures while safeguarding citizens' rights. He was speaking at an event organized by the National Movement of Social Justice to discuss the future political, social and economic landscape of Sri Lanka.
A constitution can be viewed as the intersection of the legal system, the political system, and our society. This is why a constitution is regarded as a supreme law. It provides the framework under which all legislation, subordinate legislation, institutions and procedures operate, and also articulates the rights of the citizen, which institutions, procedures, and legislation must not infringe, and which the state must strive to ensure. Therefore, the Constitution ensures that the government does not own the state. It simply manages the state under the authority of higher laws on behalf of us, the citizen. It is quite evident that even a small island, Sri Lanka, has had quite the experience with constitutional making. Even the repetitive introduction of new constitutions ceased after the Second Republican Constitution, the new constitutional trend has been in the form of, to effect, repetitive amendments, and very serious amendments which have sought to define the separation of powers as well as the independence of the judiciary. Most constitutions in itself provide for its amendment. As such, the amendments mooted by successive Sri Lankan governments pass through the legal framework in place for amendment. For the want of a better word or better phrase, Sri Lanka's constitutional history has been very colourful. However, it must be said that ultimately the constitution, the branches of government, the legal system all have to work towards the common goal to benefit the population. This benefit can be in many forms. A developing country such as ours obviously needs to provide more resources at the disposal of its citizenry, and it needs to foster a governance system which will place the well-being of the citizenry at the helm of importance. So basic needs all will be well satisfied. In this journey, it can be objectively said that Sri Lanka has fallen short of the standards of constitutionalism that a sovereign country should strive towards, and it has not reached very far in terms of development. It is difficult to conclude that it is only the constitution which has failed. Several of the stakeholders and institutions and the overall manner in which things have been done have fallen short of upholding the ideal standard.
The Budget Forum 2025 by the National Chamber of Exporters of Sri Lanka was held in Colombo.
Organised by the National Chamber of Exporters of Sri Lanka, the Budget Forum 2025 featured discussions on budget differentiation, innovation and economic growth.
Total GDP, our export represent only the 19.6%. And the IMF requirement is we want to increase that percentage more than 25% by the 2030. So that is why government is planning for the 36 billion export revenue. When we look into the government side, we can see that they are practicing good governance. Other thing is the transparency in the procurement, I mean the anti-corruption policy. We are expecting right now dollar rate will be in between 290, 300 level. That also very good for the exporters. And the interest rate will be the below 9% for the export.
Budget speech is what provides public and private sector some understanding of government's direction, the vision, where are they going to want to go. It gives sort of not, we shouldn't necessarily look at it as a one-year framework, but more it gives you a medium-term framework, some perspective about government's sort of direction and vision, and that is in my view, the main goal. Of course, implementation is so important. So it's good to understand that it's very little amount of money, and we are in a very significantly, fiscal constrained place, right? Actually, government doesn't have a lot of room to move about, and then not rocking the boat actually is good for all of us. We've understood, and the private sector has been supportive of also President Rajapaksa's tax cuts, right? And what did it do to all of us? We are worse off than we are before, right? So you need to understand we are living in a country with enormous amount of fiscal challenges, with very little room for the government to do a lot of things.
A photographic exhibition titled The Myth and Reality of Ukraine Proxy War, organized by the Russian Embassy in Sri Lanka in collaboration with the National Anti-Imperialist Forum, took place in Colombo.
The Myth and Reality of Ukraine Proxy War, a photographic exhibition organized by the Russian Embassy in Sri Lanka in collaboration with the National Anti-Imperialist Forum, took place in Colombo.
Any domination of any country in the world is unacceptable for us. Not only for us, but also for other independent countries. Hopefully, we will be able to settle down the conflict, and all the countries, first of all, from the global south, will benefit from it, because the sanctions, threats, pressure is not our way, because Europeans and previous American administration, they have forgotten the language of diplomacy. But we will remind it, whether they like it and they don't like it. Finally, we have very concrete demands, which were put forward by President Putin. First, demilitarization of Ukraine. Ukraine, from the military point of view, shouldn't pose any threat to my country. Second, neutral status of Ukraine. They will never join NATO. We will never allow Ukraine to be part of the NATO, whether they like it or they don't like it. 3, we have returned back Russian historical lands, which were gifted to Ukraine by previous Soviet governments. 4 regions in Donbass and Novorossiya, plus Crimea. And 4, lifting all sanctions. And we will continue our special military operation, we continue our offensive, as long as it's necessary.
Guests had an opportunity to obtain a deeper understanding of the original roots of the Ukrainian conflict, goals of special military operation, and ways of the crisis resolution.
On to international news, US President Donald Trump floated the idea of replacing a visa program for foreign investors with a so-called gold card that could be bought for $5 million as a route to American citizenship.
US President Donald Trump, speaking to reporters, said that he will replace EB-5 Immigrant Investor Visa program, which allows foreign investors of large sums of money that create or preserve US jobs to become permanent residents, with a so-called gold card. The EB-5 program grants green cards to foreigners promising to invest in US businesses.
We're going to be putting a price on that card of about $5 million, and that's going to give you green card privileges plus. It's going to be a route to citizenship, and wealthy people will be coming into our country by buying this card. They'll be wealthy.
Trump added, it is possible Russian oligarchs could qualify the gold cards when asked by a journalist if those people would be eligible. The EB-5 Immigrant Investor Program, administered by the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services or the USCIS, was created by Congress in 1990 to stimulate the U.S. economy through job creation and capital investment by foreign investors.
An event to unveil the 146th edition of the Battle of the Blues between St. Thomas's College, Mount Lavinia and Royal College, Colombo was held today. The event took place to create awareness of the 146th Battle of the Blues, which is set to be played on the 6th, 7th and 8th of March at the SSC ground in Colombo.
It's that time of the year when the schools start buzzing as we inch closer and closer to the 3-day at the SSC, where 22 cricketers will be battling out on the green for the coveted Serenaka Shield. To the two teams, this game is yours, and don't let all these fancy wins take your attention away from that. A lot of external pressures around the Royal Thurman encounter, but for the 22 of you, this is your game to battle it out in the middle according to the rules of the game. In the middle, you battle your heart out, but off the field, you come off as friends.
The Royal Thurman is a very important event in the sporting calendar of both our schools. This encounter, conforming to the international standards, has an unbroken history of 146 years, with tremendous significance not only for the players, the parents and other school children, but also to Sri Lanka and world cricket, as this is the second long-standing encounter, being second only to Ashes series. An event we can be proud of as Sri Lankans.
NBC Network is incredibly proud to continue our 16th year partnership with the historic Royal Thurman cricket match. This long-standing collaboration underscores our deep commitment to bring the nation's most cherished sporting tradition to the wide audience. And we will be giving updates every hour. Newsfirst will be bringing in all our bulletins, and within all 3 days you can watch from overseas. And to add the excitement, ESFM will be going live from the grounds.
Players, academic staff, sponsors and other key figures were present at the unveiling event held today.
Tonight's Happy Headlines segment is from Chilla.
Happy Headlines.
The students of Nastris Central College in Chilaw are overjoyed today, celebrating a significant achievement for their school. Despite facing severe space constraints since its establishment in 1961, the dedicated teachers and students persevered through the challenges. Even when solutions seemed out of reach, they never gave up. Instead, they launched the Land to Learn project with the support of alumni and generous donors. With an investment of 50 million rupees, they purchased land for the school's future development. Today's celebration is taking place on this newly acquired land. For the students who have been confined to a small space while striving for greatness, this new land feels like a vast ocean for opportunities. The event was graced by the Chilaw Zonal Educational Director, Alumni Association officials and donors, all sharing in the joy of this remarkable achievement.
Happy Headlines.
And that's a wrap of Primetime News for tonight.
Thank you for joining us.
Good night.